The sky was dark, but the world was about to get darker. On a cold Tuesday morning, Dr. Sarah Chen sat at her desk in the NASA control room. Her eyes were glued to the computer screen, watching a blinking dot move closer to Earth. At first, she thought it was just space junk, maybe an old satellite. But as she looked closer, her heart started to race. "This can't be right," she whispered to herself. Sarah quickly called her boss, Dr. James Miller. "James, you need to see this now," she said, her voice shaking. Within minutes, the control room was buzzing with activity. Scientists and technicians crowded around Sarah's computer, their faces a mix of excitement and fear. Dr. Miller looked at the data, and then at Sarah. "Are you sure about this?" he asked. Sarah nodded. "I've triple-checked everything. It's not a mistake." Dr. Miller took a deep breath. "All right, I'm calling the president." The news spread like wildfire. An alien fleet was heading towards Earth. It wasn't just one ship, but hundreds, maybe thousands. The world's leaders were called to an emergency meeting in New York City. In the United Nations building, presidents, prime ministers, and kings sat around a large table. The room was tense. No one knew what to say. Then the Secretary General stood up. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "we face the greatest threat in human history. We must stand united or fall divided." For the next few hours, they talked about what to do. Some wanted to try and talk to the aliens. Others wanted to fight right away. In the end, they agreed on one thing. They needed a plan. As the leaders argued, a group of scientists and military experts waited outside. They had a secret, one that could change everything. When they were finally called in, a tall woman in a military uniform stepped forward. This was General Maria Rodriguez, head of Earth's secret defense program. "Mr. Secretary General, world leaders," she said, her voice strong and clear. "For the past 50 years, we've been preparing for this day." The room fell silent. General Rodriguez pressed a button, and a hologram appeared in the center of the table. It showed satellites, space stations, and weapons that no one had ever seen before. "Project Guardian," she explained. "A global defense system hidden in plain sight. We have weapons that can hit targets in deep space, shields that can protect our cities, and ships that can fight in space." The leaders were shocked. Some looked angry that this had been kept secret. Others looked relieved. "Why weren't we told about this?" the Russian president demanded. "Security," General Rodriguez replied. "The fewer people who knew, the safer the project was." As the general explained more, Dr. Chen and Dr. Miller were brought in. They showed the latest data on the alien fleet. "They'll reach Mars in 2 weeks," Dr. Chen said. "Earth in 3. The room erupted in discussion again. Now they had a fighting chance, but what should they do? Attack first? Try to talk? Wait and see? As the debate raged on, General Rodriguez walked over to a window. She looked up at the sky, wondering what was coming. The future of humanity was at stake, and the next few days would decide everything. Back in the room, the leaders finally came to a decision. They would activate Project Guardian, but try to contact the aliens first. If that failed, they would fight with everything they had. As the meeting ended, the Secretary General made one last announcement. "We must tell the people," he said. "They have a right to know." Within hours, TVs, radios, and phones around the world buzzed with the news. Aliens were coming, but humanity was ready. In cities and towns everywhere, people looked up at the sky. Some were scared, others excited. But for the first time in history, all of humanity was united against a common threat. As night fell, Dr. Chen stood on the roof of the NASA building. She thought about everything that had happened and everything that was about to happen. "Come on, aliens," she whispered to the stars. "We're ready for you." The world held its breath, waiting for what would come next. Humanity's last stand was about to begin. As dawn broke over the world's major cities, a buzz of activity filled the air. Today was the day humanity would reveal its secret defenses against the approaching alien threat. In Washington, D.C., President Emily Carter stood before a sea of reporters. Cameras flashed as she stepped up to the podium, her face serious but determined. "My fellow citizens of Earth," she began, her voice steady. "For decades, we have been preparing for this moment. Today, we unveil our shield against the stars." With a nod, she signaled to someone off stage. Suddenly, the sky above the White House shimmered. A translucent dome appeared, covering the entire city. Gasps of awe rippled through the crowd. "This is just the beginning," President Carter continued. "Similar shields are being activated over every major city on Earth." Meanwhile, in orbit, astronaut John Lee floated inside the International Space Station. He watched in amazement as hidden panels opened up all over the station's exterior. Sleek, metallic weapons emerged, transforming the peaceful research facility into a battle station. "Houston, are you seeing this?" John radioed down to Mission Control. "Affirmative, John," came the reply. "Welcome to Orbital Defense Platform Alpha." Back on Earth, in the deserts of Nevada, the ground began to shake. A massive door slid open, revealing a hangar buried deep underground. Inside, rows of spacecraft stood ready, unlike anything the public had ever seen before. Colonel Sarah Martinez climbed into the cockpit of the lid ship. As she strapped herself in, she couldn't help but smile. "Time to take these babies out for a real spin," she said to herself. With a roar, the ships lifted off, shooting into the sky at incredible speeds. People all over the western United States looked up in wonder as the secret fleet revealed itself. In laboratories around the world, scientists were hard at work. Dr. Yuki Tanaka in Tokyo unveiled a new type of energy weapon. In Rio de Janeiro, Dr. Carlos Mendez demonstrated advanced AI systems designed to outthink alien strategies. As each new piece of technology was revealed, a mix of hope and excitement spread across the globe. Humanity had teeth, and they were sharp, but not everyone was celebrating. In a small village in Kenya, old man Jabari looked up at the new satellites visible in the daytime sky. "We can fight the stars," he said to his grandchildren, "but at what cost?" His words echoed the concerns of many. The weapons were impressive, but they were also frightening. What would happen after the aliens were gone? Would these weapons be used against other humans? As night fell, General Maria Rodriguez addressed these fears in a global broadcast. "These defenses were created to protect all of humanity," she explained, "and they will be controlled by a council representing every nation on Earth. We stand united, not just against the alien threat, but in our commitment to peace among ourselves." Her words helped calm many fears, but the world still held its breath. The alien fleet grew closer by the hour. In New York, the United Nations building had been transformed into a global command center. Leaders from around the world gathered to coordinate their efforts. "The planetary shield network is online," reported the Chinese president. "Our moon base is fully operational and ready to act as our forward defense," added the Indian Prime Minister. As reports came in from around the world and beyond, the Secretary General nodded solemnly. "Then we are as ready as we'll ever be," he said. Outside, people gathered in streets and parks, looking up at the night sky. The stars seemed different now, no longer just points of light, but possible sources of danger. On a rooftop in Chicago, two teenagers, Mike and Zoe, sat with a pair of binoculars. "Do you think we'll see the aliens?" Zoe asked. Mike shrugged. "I don't know. But I'm glad we're not just sitting ducks." As they watched, a streak of light crossed the sky, one of Earth's new defense satellites taking position. All across the planet, humanity waited. They had revealed their strength, shown the aliens that Earth would not be an easy target. Now, as the first alien ships entered the solar system, the true test was about to begin. Earth was ready. The arsenal was unveiled. Humanity's last stand was about to face its first challenge. The day everyone had been waiting for finally arrived. Earth's long-range sensors detected the alien fleet entering the solar system. The world held its breath as the ships approached. In the Global Command Center, formerly the UN building in New York, leaders from around the world gathered. They watched giant screens showing the aliens approach. "They've just passed Jupiter," announced General Rodriguez, her voice tense. The Secretary General nodded. "It's time. Let's try to talk to them." Dr. Aisha Patel, Earth's top linguist, stepped forward. For months, she had been working on ways to communicate with the aliens. Now was her moment. "Sending the message now," she said, pressing a button. A signal beamed out from Earth's most powerful transmitter. It carried images, sounds, and mathematical formulas. Earth's attempt to say hello. Minutes passed. Then hours. The aliens kept coming, but didn't respond. Maybe they didn't understand, someone suggested. Dr. Patel shook her head. The message was designed to be understood by any intelligent life. They're choosing not to answer. As the alien ships reached Mars, Earth tried again. This time, the message was simpler. "We come in peace. Please respond." Suddenly, one of the screens lit up. An image appeared, showing a creature unlike anything on Earth. It had multiple eyes and a body that seemed to shift and change. The alien spoke. The sound was like nothing anyone had ever heard before. Dr. Patel's computers worked quickly to translate. "Your peace is irrelevant. Your planet is ours." The room fell silent. The Secretary General looked grim. "So be it," he said quietly. "General Rodriguez, you have permission to engage." Alarms sounded across the solar system. On the moon base, Commander Lai Wei gave the order. "Launch defense satellites." Hundreds of small, sleek objects shot out from the moon's surface, racing towards the alien fleet. In orbit around Earth, astronaut John Lee activated the weapons systems on the space station. "Orbital Defense Platform Alpha, weapons hot," he reported. The first battle was about to begin. As the defense satellites reached the alien fleet, they opened fire. Beams of energy and advanced missiles streaked across space. The aliens, caught by surprise, took heavy losses, but they recovered quickly. Their ships moved in ways that seemed impossible, dodging and weaving. "They're fast," exclaimed Colonel Martinez from her fighter ship near Mars. "All squadrons, engage." Earth's secret fleet of spaceships joined the battle. The space around Mars lit up with explosions and energy beams. Back on Earth, people watched the battle on their screens. In Times Square, New York, thousands gathered to watch on giant displays. Cheers erupted as they saw Earth's forces scoring hits. But the aliens were powerful. They started to push through the outer defenses. "They're heading for Earth," shouted someone in the command center. General Rodriguez turned to the world leaders. "We need to activate the planetary shield, but it will take all our power. Cities will go dark." The leaders looked at each other. Finally, the Secretary General spoke. "Do it." All over the world, lights began to flicker and go out. In London, Paris, Tokyo, and every major city, darkness fell. But as the lights went out on the ground, a new light appeared in the sky. A shimmering barrier formed around the Earth, growing stronger by the second. The first alien ships reached the shield. They fired their weapons, but the shield held. "It's working," Dr. Chen shouted in the NASA control room. "The shield is holding." For now, Earth was safe, but the battle was far from over. In space, the fighting continued. Earth had surprised the aliens with its defenses, but the aliens were adapting quickly. As the first day of battle ended, both sides had taken losses. Earth had held its ground, but everyone knew this was just the beginning. In the command center, the Secretary General looked at the tired faces around him. "We've won the first round," he said, "but this war is far from over. We must be ready for what comes next." Outside, in the darkened cities, people looked up at the sky. The shield shimmered faintly, a reminder of the battle raging above. Humanity had faced its first contact with alien life. and had stood firm. The question now was, could they keep standing? As Earth's shield held firm against the alien assault, the invaders turned their attention to an easier target. Mars, the red planet with its small human colonies, suddenly became the new front line. On the Martian surface, alarms blared through the domed city of New Armstrong. Colony leader Dr. Alex Reeves rushed to the control center, his face pale with worry. "Status report," he shouted as he entered the room. His second-in-command, Lisa Chen, looked up from her screens. "Multiple alien ships entering orbit, sir. They're landing troops on the surface." Dr. Reeves nodded grimly. "Activate emergency protocols. Get everyone to the shelters." As colonists hurried to safety, a small group of fighters prepared for battle. Among them was Mark Santiago, a young geologist turned soldier. "I came here to study rocks," Mark muttered as he checked his weapon. "Now I'm fighting aliens." The defenders of Mars were few, but they had one advantage. They knew the terrain. As alien forces approached New Armstrong, the humans vanished into a network of tunnels and caves. From hidden outposts, they watched the invaders. The aliens were tall, with multiple limbs and armor that seemed to shift colors. They moved with an unsettling grace in the low Martian gravity. "Remember the plan," Mark whispered to his team. "Hit and run. We can't beat them head-on, but we can slow them down." Back on Earth, the Global Command Center buzzed with activity. Screens showed the situation on Mars growing dire. "We need to send help," urged the Secretary General. General Rodriguez nodded. "The Mars Relief Fleet is ready, but getting past the alien blockade won't be easy." In orbit around Earth, a massive ship detached from a hidden space dock. This was the MSS Hope, Earth's largest and most advanced spaceship. On board, Colonel Sarah Martinez took her place in the captain's chair. "All hands, prepare for departure," she announced. "We're going to Mars." As the Hope and its escort ships blasted away from Earth, the Martian colonists fought for survival. Using their knowledge of the planet, they staged daring raids against the aliens. Mark and his team snuck into an alien camp under cover of a dust storm. They planted bombs on the invaders' equipment, then melted away into the red landscape. Minutes later, explosions rocked the alien base. Mark allowed himself a small smile. That'll teach them to mess with Mars. But the aliens were learning fast. They began to adapt to Martian conditions, making the colonists' guerrilla tactics less effective. Dr. Reeves watched from the hidden command center as alien forces drew closer to New Armstrong. "We can't hold out much longer," he said softly. Just then, a message crackled through their comm system. "Mars Colony, this is Colonel Martinez of the MSS Hope. Help is on the way. Hold on." The news spread quickly, boosting the colonists' morale. But between the Hope and Mars lay the alien fleet. High above Mars, space erupted in battle. Earth ships, outnumbered but determined, clashed with alien vessels. Energy beams and missiles crisscrossed the void. On the Hope's bridge, Colonel Martinez barked orders. "All ships, concentrate fire on their flagship. We need to punch through." The battle raged for hours. Earth ships fell one by one, but they gave as good as they got. Slowly, a path to Mars opened up. "We're through," shouted Martinez. "All ships, make for the surface. The colony needs us." As Earth's relief force descended towards Mars, the colonists launched a major offensive. Mark led a team to attack the aliens' main base, drawing their attention. "Keep them busy," he told his people. "Help is coming." The aliens, caught between the colonists' attack and the approaching Earth ships, began to fall back. For the first time since the invasion began, they were retreating. As the first Earth ships touched down near New Armstrong, cheers erupted from the colonists. Mark watched as fresh troops and supplies poured out. "We did it," he said, grinning at his dust-covered teammates. "We held Mars." But even as they celebrated, everyone knew the war was far from over. The battle for Mars was won, But the fight for Earth's survival was just beginning. In orbit, Colonel Martinez looked down at the red planet. "One small step," she murmured. "Now for the giant leap." The tide was turning. Humanity had won its first major victory against the alien invaders. The question now was, could they press their advantage and save Earth? With Mars secured, humanity's confidence grew, but the alien threat remained. In a secret lab beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Yuki Tanaka worked tirelessly. She stood before a strange-looking device, a mix of Earth and alien technology. "This is it," she muttered, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "The key to their technology." For weeks, scientists had been studying captured alien equipment. Now, they were on the brink of a breakthrough. Dr. Tanaka pressed a button. The device hummed to life, projecting a holographic display. Complex alien symbols floated in the air. "We did it," she exclaimed. "We've cracked their tech." News of the breakthrough spread quickly. In the Global Command Center, General Rodriguez smiled for the first time in days. "Now we can fight them on equal terms," she said. But equality wasn't enough. Humanity needed an edge. That edge came from an unexpected source. In a small town in Nigeria, a young girl named Adora sat at her computer. She had been analyzing alien communication patterns as part of a global citizen science project. Suddenly, she noticed something. "The aliens," she whispered. "They're talking about the asteroid belt." Adora's discovery raced through the global defense network. In the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, humanity's deep space sensors detected massive alien activity. Colonel Martinez, fresh from the victory on Mars, received new orders. "Take the fleet to the asteroid belt. Find out what they're up to." As Earth ships moved into position, tension built. On the bridge of the Nemzer's Hope, Martinez watched the asteroids grow larger on the view screen. "There," shouted her sensor officer. "Alien ships. Hundreds of them." The aliens were building something big. A massive structure was taking shape, using asteroids as raw materials. "It's a superweapon," Martinez realized with horror. "They're going to use it against Earth." The battle for the asteroid belt began. Earth ships darted between floating rocks, exchanging fire with alien vessels. But this time, thanks to Dr. Tanaka's work, humanity's weapons were more effective. On Earth, military strategists huddled in war rooms. They needed a plan to stop the alien superweapon. That's when Captain Lee, the former astronaut, had an idea. "We don't need to destroy it," he said. "We need to steal it." The plan was daring, maybe even crazy, but it was the best shot they had. As the space battle raged, a small team led by Captain Lee snuck aboard the alien structure. They wore suits reverse-engineered from alien tech, making them nearly invisible. Lee's team fought their way to the control room. Alien and human technology clashed as they hacked into the systems. Almost there, Lee grunted, his fingers flying over alien controls. Suddenly, alarms blared. They had been discovered. "Lee, you've got incoming." Martinez's voice crackled over the comm. "We'll hold them off as long as we can." Outside, the space battle reached its peak. Earth ships formed a protective ring around the alien structure, buying time for Lee's team. In the control room, Lee made a final push. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he inputted the last command. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the entire structure shuddered. "We've got control," Lee shouted triumphantly. The massive alien superweapon, now under human control, began to move. It turned slowly, aiming not at Earth, but at the heart of the alien fleet. "Fire," Lee said softly. A beam of incredible power shot out, cutting through the alien ships like they were paper. In moments, the tide of battle had turned completely. The remaining alien ships fled, scattering across the solar system. For the first time, they were the ones retreating. As cheers erupted across Earth's fleet, Martinez allowed herself a small smile. "Well done, everyone," she said. "Especially you, Lee." Back on Earth, the news of victory spread like wildfire. People poured into the streets, celebrating. Humanity had not just held its ground, it had pushed the aliens back. In the Global Command Center, world leaders gathered to discuss the next steps. The Secretary General looked around the room, his face serious but hopeful. "We've won a great victory today," he said, "but the war isn't over. Now we take the fight to them." As night fell, people looked up at the stars with new eyes. The universe was a dangerous place, but humanity had proven it was ready to face those dangers. The tide had turned. Now, it was time to ride that tide to final victory. With the alien superweapon now under human control, Earth's forces prepared to take the fight to the enemy. The massive structure, renamed Hope's Fist, became humanity's spearhead. On the bridge of Hope's Fist, Captain Lee stood beside Colonel Martinez. They watched as Earth's fleet gathered around them. "Never thought I'd be captaining an alien megaweapon," Lee said with a wry smile. Martinez nodded. "Life's full of surprises, especially lately." As the fleet prepared to jump into deep space, back on Earth, a different kind of preparation was underway. In a hidden bunker, Dr. Tanaka and her team worked furiously. They had discovered something in the alien technology, a weakness. "It's their network," Dr. Tanaka explained to General Rodriguez. "All their ships are connected. If we can disrupt that connection, we can cripple their entire fleet." Rodriguez finished, her eyes widening. Tanaka nodded. "Exactly. But we'll need to get close to their command ship to do it." The plan was set. Earth's fleet would engage the aliens, with Hope's Fist leading the charge. Meanwhile, a small team would sneak aboard the alien command ship and deploy Dr. Tanaka's disruptor. As the human fleet jumped into deep space, tension ran high. They emerged near a massive alien staging area. Thousands of enemy ships filled the void. For a moment, everything was still. Then chaos erupted. Hope's Fist fired its main weapon, cutting a swath through the alien armada. Earth ships swarmed forward, their weapons blazing with reverse-engineered alien tech. On a small, stealthy ship, Mark Santiago, the geologist-turned-soldier from Mars, led the infiltration team. They slipped past the battle lines, heading for the heart of the alien fleet. The battle was fierce. Alien ships moved in ways that defied physics, but human pilots matched them with raw skill and determination. In her fighter, Colonel Martinez barrel-rolled around an alien cruiser, peppering it with laser fire. "Keep pushing," she shouted over the comms. "We've got them on the run." Aboard the alien command ship, Mark and his team fought their way through twisting corridors. The ship's interior seemed to shift and change, but they pressed on. Almost there, Mark grunted, checking the alien tech scanner Dr. Tanaka had given him. The control room should be just ahead. As they reached the final door, alarms blared. They had been discovered. "Hurry," Mark shouted as his team engaged the alien defenders. "I'll hold them off. Plant the disruptor." Outside, the battle hung in the balance. Hope's Fist was doing massive damage, but the alien numbers seemed endless. Captain Lee gritted his teeth as his ship shuddered under enemy fire. "We can't keep this up forever," he muttered. Just then, something incredible happened. Across the battlefield, alien ships suddenly stopped moving. Their lights flickered and went out. "They did it," Martinez exclaimed. "The disruptor worked." With their network disrupted, the alien fleet fell into chaos. Earth ships pressed their advantage, tearing through the confused enemy forces. On the alien command ship, Mark and his team fought their way back to their shuttle. As they escaped, they watched the massive ship power down, drifting lifelessly. The alien armada, once so mighty, now lay in ruins. Those ships that could still fly turned tail and fled, disappearing into the depths of space. As the dust settled, cheers erupted across the human fleet. They had done the impossible. They had defeated a technologically superior alien invasion force. Back on Earth, news of the victory spread rapidly, streets filled with celebrating people. For the first time in months, The fear that had gripped the planet began to lift. In the Global Command Center, world leaders gathered once more. The Secretary General looked around the room, his face beaming with pride. "Today, we have written a new chapter in human history," he said. "We faced a threat from beyond the stars, and we did not falter. We did not fall. We stood together, and we triumphed." As the cheers died down, he continued more solemnly. "But our work is not done. We have won the war, but now we must win the peace. The stars are no longer a distant dream. They are our new frontier." As night fell on Earth, people looked up at the sky with new eyes. The universe had thrown its worst at humanity, and humanity had not only survived but thrived. The war was over. Now, the real adventure was about to begin. 1 year after the great victory, Earth was a changed planet. The scars of war were still visible, but so were the signs of incredible progress. Humanity had not just survived. It had leaped forward. In New York, the United Nations building had been rebuilt and expanded. Now called the Galactic Cooperation Center, it stood as a symbol of Earth's new role in the universe. Inside, representatives from every nation gathered for a historic meeting. Dr. Aisha Patel, once Earth's top linguist, now stood at the podium as the first human ambassador to the stars. "My fellow Earthlings," she began, her voice filled with emotion. "Today, we take our first official step into the galactic community." On screens around the world, people watched as Dr. Patel signed the first interstellar peace treaty. The alien race they had fought, the Zoraks, had sent envoys to sue for peace. "We have turned enemies into potential allies," Dr. Patel continued. "And in doing so, we have opened doors to worlds beyond our imagination." As the ceremony concluded, attention turned to the sky. A massive shape descended through the clouds. Hope's Fist, the converted alien superweapon, now Earth's first true starship. In orbit, Captain John Lee prepared for humanity's first official mission of exploration. His crew was a mix of soldiers, scientists, and diplomats from all over the world. "Ready for launch, Captain," his first officer reported. Lee nodded, a smile playing on his lips. "Take us out, nice and easy. Let's go see what's out there." As Hope's Fist disappeared into the depths of space, life on Earth continued to evolve. The technology gained from the war had revolutionized every aspect of society. In a small town in Kenya, old man Jabari watched as his granddaughter activated a holographic display. Images of distant planets floated in the air. "When I was your age," Jabari said, shaking his head in wonder, "we could only dream of such things." His granddaughter grinned. "And now, Grandpa, I'm going to visit those planets. I start my training at the Space Academy next month." Across the globe, similar scenes played out. Young people everywhere were looking to the stars, dreaming of new frontiers. In the Martian colony of New Armstrong, now a bustling city, Mark Santiago led a group of students on a field trip. They stood on the red soil, their protective suits a far cry from the clunky versions of the past. "This is where we made our stand," Mark said, pointing to an old battlefield. "And now, it's where we'll build our future." One of the students raised her hand. "Mr. Santiago, is it true you're leading the first settlement mission to Europa?" Mark nodded, his eyes twinkling. "That's right. Jupiter's moon awaits us. Who knows? Maybe some of you will join me there someday." Back on Earth, in her lab beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Yuki Tanaka put the finishing touches on her latest invention. It was a drive capable of faster-than-light travel, based on principles learned from the alien technology. "With this," she murmured, "the entire galaxy will be within our reach." As news of the breakthrough spread, excitement rippled across the planet. Humanity's expansion into space was about to accelerate dramatically. In the Galactic Cooperation Center, world leaders gathered once again. The Secretary General, now nearing retirement, addressed the assembly. "We stand at the dawn of a new era," he said, his voice strong despite his years. "An era of exploration, of discovery, and of cooperation. We have proven ourselves worthy of the stars. Now, let us reach for them with open hands and open hearts. As night fell around the world, families stepped outside to look at the sky. Parents pointed out constellations to their children, but now the conversation was different. That's where Captain Lee's team is exploring. A mother in Brazil told her son, "And over there is where we're building the new space station." A father in India explained to his daughter. The stars were no longer distant points of light. They were destinations full of promise and possibility. As humanity looked to the future, there was a sense of both excitement and responsibility. They had defended their world. Now, they would help shape the galaxy. A new chapter in human history had begun. The universe awaited, and humanity was ready to embrace it.